Fade in. Soft, flickering candlelight on a grand oak dining table. The camera lingers on a leather folder, its edges worn like old secrets. Tense orchestral strings swell in the background, building a heartbeat rhythm. Imagine this. It's your 21st birthday. Your grandmother, the unbreakable force who built an empire from nothing, slides a folder across the table. Inside, deeds to a $50 million hotel chain, your name etched in gold. Your heart races, pounding like thunder in your chest. Freedom, legacy, yours. But before the ink even dries in your mind, the door bursts open. Your mother storms in, her new husband trailing like a shadow, eyes gleaming with hunger. "We should run it together," she purrs, that fake smile plastered on like war paint. You stand your ground. "No, it's mine now." Her face twists cold, venomous. "Then pack your bags and get out of this house." The air freezes. Your fists clench, nails digging into palms, drawing tiny crescents of blood. You don't move, you don't scream, because you know what she doesn't? This isn't the end. It's the opening act. And Grandma? She's already written the revenge that will shatter their world. Pause for effect, let the music drop low, then swell. If that gut punch betrayal has your blood boiling already, stick around. The story of family greed, hidden fraud, and one woman's ice-cold justice will leave you cheering. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we dive into those raw, Reddit-inspired tales of betrayal and sweet, sweet payback. If you've ever been stabbed in the back by the people who should have your corner, family, friends, whoever, and dreamed of that perfect, karma-delivering moment where the tables flip, hit that like button right now, subscribe for more emotional roller coasters like this, and drop a comment below. What's the worst family betrayal you've survived? Or, better yet, your wildest revenge fantasy. This one's gonna hit different. It's got heart, it's got hustle, and it's got justice served ice cold. Let's jump in. When people glance at me now, Sophia Bennett, they see the sparkle of success. The marble-floored lobbies where heels click like applause, the crystal chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold, the massive brass sign above the entrance doors, Bennett Collection. It's a name that turns heads in boardrooms and whispers in high society galas. A $50 million empire of luxury hotels stretching from the misty hills of Vermont to the sun-soaked coasts of Maine. But peel back those glossy layers, and what you find isn't champagne toasts or power lunches. It's the scars of a family fractured by greed, stitched back together with quiet steel. My grandmother, Sharon Bennett. God, just saying her name still sends a shiver down my spine, the good kind. She was a force of nature wrapped in pearls and practicality. Picture this. A 1-year-old widow in 1965, standing on a dirt road in rural Vermont, staring at a crumbling roadside motel that looked more like a haunted house than a business opportunity. The locals laughed, called her that foolish girl with stars in her eyes. But Sharon, she rolled up her sleeves, smelled the mildew and motor oil, and got to work. Hammer in one hand, ledger in the other. She turned doubters into dollars, brick by dusty brick. By the time I came into the world, screaming and squirming in a Boston hospital, the Bennett Collection wasn't just a chain, it was a legend. Whispers of envy followed it like smoke from a fine cigar. To her wasn't in the quiet hum of a well-run front desk or the satisfied sigh of a guest C and me. I was supposed to be the bridge between generations, the one who carried the torch without burning the house down. But my mother, Brenda, Brenda was cut from a different cloth. Where Sharon built with patience and blueprints, Brenda craved the spotlight more than substance. She inherited the pride, the unshakable belief that the world owed her its gaze, success and king into fresh linens. No, it was red carpets, camera flashes popping like fireworks, headlines screaming her name. Control wasn't a tool, it was her oxygen. Family? That was just the audience she performed for. My dad, Mark, he was the counterweight, the steady anchor in our storm-tossed boat. Tall, with hands calloused from years fixing leaky roofs and tweaking HVAC systems, he ran operations like a poet writes verses, deliberate, unhurried, always right. While Mom chased photo ops at industry galas, Dad was elbow-deep in spreadsheets at 3 a.m., making sure the lights stayed on and the bills got paid. He believed in doing things right, even if it meant staying late, even if it meant swallowing his pride when Brenda's latest vision blew up in smoke. Love, to him, was action, quiet, unglamorous action. But balance like that, it's fragile as glass. I was 16 when it shattered. I remember every detail, like it's etched on my eyelids. The air in our colonial home hung heavy that night, thick with the scent of Mom's Chanel No. 5 clashing against Dad's aftershave, sandalwood, and regret. I'd come home from soccer practice, cleats slung over my shoulder, ponytail frizzing in the humidity. The living room was a battlefield. Throw pillows scattered like fallen soldiers, a half-empty wine glass teetering on the coffee table. Mom's voice sliced through the walls, first, sharp, accusatory. "You're holding me back, Mark! This family could be something if you weren't so damn afraid of risk." Dad's response was a low rumble, exhausted. "Risk without reason is just gambling, Brenda. We've got a daughter to think about." I froze in the hallway, heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Peeking around the corner, I saw him shoulders slumped, eyes shadowed with that bone-deep weariness. Mom paced like a panther, her silk blouse unbuttoned just enough to scream entitlement. "Then go. If you can't keep up, leave." He didn't yell, didn't beg, just nodded once, slow as a verdict. Grabbed his suitcase from the hall closet, the one with the frayed leather strap from our family trips to the Cape, and set it by the door. "I can't stay where love's just a performance," he said, voice cracking like old floorboards. His eyes met mine for a split-second apology, and resolve tangled together. Then he was gone. The door clicked shut, and the silence rushed in like floodwater. It filled every corner, every crack, seeping into my bones. I stood there, 16 and powerless, fists balled so tight my knuckles whitened. Why couldn't I stop it? Why did family feel like a script I never auditioned for? That silence, it never left. It echoed in the empty chair at breakfast, in the way Mom's laughter rang hollow at dinner parties. She didn't waste time mourning. Remarried Scott Miller within 6 months, smooth-talking business consultant with a Rolex that screamed rented success and a vocabulary bloated with buzzwords. Synergy, disruptive innovation, global scalability. He was her mirror, shiny, loud, utterly hollow. Together, they were a power couple in her delusions. Her, the glamorous heiress, him, the visionary expander. But to me, he was just another layer of noise, his cheap cologne clinging to the curtains like a bad memory. Not long after the wedding, the vows exchanged under crystal chandeliers at one of our hotels. Naturally, Mom decided I was in the way. "For your stability, sweetheart," she cooed, packing my bags with manicured nails. Stability. Right. I knew the truth. I was a loose end, a reminder of Dad's quiet integrity she couldn't erase. Off I went, to Grandma Sharon's sprawling estate in the Vermont hills, cedar beams groaning under history, windows framing endless green that smelled of pine and possibility. Life there? It was quiet, but never empty. Grandma's home wrapped around you like a worn quilt, warm, sturdy, full of stories. Morning started with the percussive clack-clack of her typewriter in the study, keys striking paper like determined footsteps. Coffee brewed strong and black, steam curling up to mingle with the earthy tang of cedar paneling. She didn't baby me. No, she apprenticed me. While I pored over architecture textbooks in the sun-dappled library, she'd pull up a chair, her silver hair pinned back like a crown, and teach me the real curriculum, Legacy 101. "Discipline isn't chains, Sophia," she'd say, her voice gravelly from years of Vermont winters, eyes sharp as cut glass. "It's the mortar that holds the bricks." We'd walk the grounds at dusk, her cane tapping rhythm like a metronome, pointing out the original motel foundation now buried under rose bushes. Risk, it's not leaping blind, it's calculating the fall and building a net. And courage? God, the courage. Starting over when they call you finished? That's where empires are born. Nights were for secrets. I'd tiptoe past her study door, crack just enough to catch her bent-over yellowed property maps, hand-sketched lines from her youth, faded but fierce. Her finger would trace a curving hallway, a soft smile breaking through like dawn. Every building tells a story, child. The walls remember who laid them. And why. Back then, I thought she meant mortar and measurements, but no. She was etching lessons into me about the foundations we build inside, the ones greed can't mortgage away. Years slipped by like pages in a ledger, My calls with Mom dwindled 5 minutes, snatched between her networking brunches and Scott's consulting calls. "You should visit," she'd say, voice syrupy over static lines. "Scott's got ideas for the European market, real game changers." I'd mumble about exams, theses, late-night drafting sessions, and she'd end with that sigh, disappointed, dramatic, like I'd personally dimmed her spotlight. We were strangers, bound by DNA and dotted lines on legal docs. Blood, but barely family. Until my 21st. October 15th, leaves turning the hills to fire outside Grandma's window. She called me to her desk that morning, the massive oak slab scarred from decades of decisions. The leather folder waited there, heavy as unspoken promises, its brass clasp glinting like a dare. "Sit," she said. Not a command, but gravity. Her hands, veined and steady, pushed it toward me. "This is your inheritance, Sophia, but it's also your test." I flipped it open, breath-catching. Deeds. Blueprints. The full Bennett Collection hotels, holdings, the works, $50 million stamped in black ink. My name, my future. Heart slamming, I looked up, words tumbling. "Grandma, this is everything." She just nodded, eyes holding mine, knowing, almost sad. Everything and nothing if you let it be taken. I didn't get it then. How could I? The moment you grasp your dreams is often the second predator sent blood. Dinner that night was a fragile piece, a rare bubble in our storm-weary lives. The long oak table groaned under roasted lamb, its juices pooling like rubies on porcelain. Candle flames danced, casting Grandma's face in golden halos, smoothing the lines etched by years of battles I never saw. Silverware chimed softly against china, the only sound besides the distant hoot of an owl. For once, the house breathed easy, no echoes of arguments, no shadows of abandonment. I savored a bite, the herbs bursting on my tongue, rosemary sharp as memory, and thought, maybe, just maybe, things are steady now. Ding dong, the doorbell, innocuous chime, but it sliced the air like a knife through silk. My napkin twisted in my fist as I rose, pulse quickening inexplicably. The porch light spilled yellow onto the steps, mingling with October chill that nipped at my skin. I swung the door open, and there it was. The first wave of her perfume, jasmine, and entitlement. Thick enough to choke. Mom. Brenda Bennett Miller, in a cream cashmere coat tailored to scream wealth, hair curled in perfect waves, smile stretched thin as spun glass over shark teeth. Beside her, Scott, tall, tanned, that smug consultant grin fixed like a bad toupee. His cologne hit next, synthetic spice, cheap and cloying, masking the sweat of ambition. "Sophia!" Mom's voice dripped honeyed cheer, arms opening for a hug that never landed. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." We were just in the area, thought we'd pop by. Behind me, Grandma's chair scraped slow, deliberate, like the cocking of a hidden gun. They didn't wait for invitation. Scott shouldered in with a gift bag, swinging from manicured fingers, the kind of flashy wrapping that screams quid pro quo. Mom's eyes scanned the room like a hawk, vaulted ceilings, antique rugs, the leather folder still splayed open on the table like an exposed vein. My inheritance. Her gaze locked on it, pupils dilating with hunger. "We heard about your big gift," she said, tone sugar-coated arsenic. $50 million? How wonderful for you." I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing politeness through gritted teeth. "It's not about the money, Mom. Grandma wants me to carry on what she built." A light laugh from her tinkling, dismissive, manicured hand, fluttering like a dismissal flag. "Of course, darling, but a business that size? It's no place for, well, children. You'll need experience, guidance." She glanced at Scott, cueing him like a stagehand. "That's why we thought Scott and we could manage it together. As a family." Family. The word landed like a slap, stinging, insincere. My chest tightened, breath shallow, the room's warmth turning, suffocating. Scott leaned in, elbows on the table's edge, voice oily as used car sales. "It's too much for one person, Sophia. Let us help. We've even drafted a proposal, streamlined operations, international push. Synergy, you know?" Grandma's voice cut through like a winter gust, cold, precise. "A proposal? For property that isn't yours?" The air shifted. Scott's grin faltered. a crack in the facade. Mom shot her a look that icy defiance she'd weaponized on Dad years ago, eyes narrowing to slits. "Mother, please, let's be practical." "Practical?" Grandma echoed, rolling the word on her tongue like bitter medicine. She leaned forward, candlelight carving shadows on her face. "Like when you mortgaged the Burlington property without a whisper of authorization? Or that expansion jaunt to Europe 6 months gone, pockets empty, debts piling like autumn leaves?" Color leached from Mom's cheeks, leaving her foundation-caked skin sallow. "That was years ago," she hissed, voice fraying at the edges. "Yes," Grandma murmured, soft as a blade's edge, "and I remember every penny it cost, every year." I stood frozen, tension coiling in my ribs like barbed wire, the scent of rosemary from dinner twisting into something sour, rosemary and raw rage. Mom wheeled on me, brittle as cracked porcelain. "Sophia, don't let her poison you against me. We're family. We rebuild together," her eyes pleaded, but they lied, darting back to the folder, calculating, claiming. I wanted to believe her. God, the ache for it clawed at my gut, a little girl's dream of a mother's arms without the barbs. But that look, it screamed truth. This wasn't reunion. It was reconquest. Power she'd fumbled, now ripe for the taking. Grandma rose then, her hand on my shoulder warm, unyielding, an anchor in the squall. "Dinner's over?" she said, calm as a verdict. Some discussions end before they start. Scott cleared his throat, forcing joviality. "Of course, we'll chat soon, family business, right?" But as the door snicked shut behind them, Mom's parting shot lingered. A venomous whisper pitched for my ears alone. "This isn't over, Sophia. Not by a long shot." She was right. The chill she left didn't fade with the taillights. It seeped into the walls, turning the house from haven to hunting ground. The next morning dawned wrong. Sunlight filtered through lace curtains, but it looked pallid, diluted like watered-down hope. The house knew. Walls that once whispered welcomes now hummed with warning. I padded downstairs in socks, feet silent on creaky oak, drawn by the clatter of porcelain. Grandma was barricaded in her study door, ajar just enough for the rhythmic clack-clack of her typewriter to leak out, steadier than my fluttering pulse. But the kitchen? Invaded. Mom perched at the breakfast nook, cradling a steaming mug of coffee she damn well hadn't brewed herself, flipping through Grandma's antique ledger with proprietary flicks. Pages rustled like dry leaves in a gale. Scott paced by the French doors, phone glued to his ear, muttering corporate voodoo, potential restructuring, joint control, leverage the assets. They didn't clock me at first. I hovered in the doorway, invisible, watching the charade. Two wolves in sheep's clothing, family camouflage, stretched thin over greed. Mom's foot tapped an impatient rhythm. Scott's free hand gestured wildly, slicing air like he owned it already. Finally, she looked up, smile crisp as starched linen. "Morning, sweetheart. We were just brainstorming. Ways to keep the business stable." "Stable," the word mocked me. I crossed to the counter, pouring orange juice with deliberate slowness, citrus tang biting my nostrils, glass cool against my fevered palm. "Stable?" I echoed, voice even laced with steel I didn't know I had. "It's been stable for 50 years, without your input." She waved it off, ignoring the barb like swatting a fly. "You're so young, Sophia. School, friends, that little architecture hobby, why stress over payrolls, legal headaches? That's what family's for." Scott chimed in, tone slick as oil on water. "Exactly. Let us handle the boring bits. You chase that degree. Live a little." My pulse climbed, hot and insistent, but I bit it back. Silence stretched taut, itching skin until it snapped. I turned, juice in hand, eyes locking theirs. "Does Grandma know you're here?" Mom blinked, lips pursing into a thin line. "She's resting. Elderly, you know." Right, I thought, the word dripping sarcasm in my mind. Then maybe let her rest. Their stares bored into my back as I walked away, every step a defiance, echoing like thunder in a canyon. Dare accepted. Afternoon found me knocking on Grandma's study door, the wood warm under my knuckles. She didn't startle, just set down her pen, sighing like she'd expected the storm. "They were in the kitchen," I blurted, sinking into the armchair opposite her. "Rifling through your things, talking takeovers like it's a done deal." No surprise in her eyes, just a weary nod. I hoped they'd at least feign patience for a week. Amateurs. Do you want me to call the lawyer? My voice trembled, fist clenching in my lap, nails biting crescents again. She shook her head, drawer rasping open like a confessional. Out came another folder twin to mine, leather gleaming ominously. Already handled, dear. But there are shadows. About Brenda, Scott. Documents they'd buried deep. Ghost transfers, phantom deals. My stomach knotted, twisting like wet rope. Why hide this? Why let them? Her gaze met mine, piercing paternal. Because, Sophia, the only way to forge a defender is to let them taste the theft. Feel the rip of what's yours being clawed away. The words landed heavy, but true. We dove in, then hours blurring in lamplight glow, air thick with dust motes and determination. She phoned her attorney, voice clipped as a telegram. I sifted files, yellowed receipts, cryptic emails marking anomalies in red ink, payments vanishing into ether, transfers to shell accounts with Scott's fingerprints all over, evidence piled like ammunition. By sunset, the house reeked of stale coffee and aged paper, my eyes burning, but resolve hardening like concrete. Grandma leaned back, tired lines softening into calm. Tomorrow, she said, voice a vow. We invite them back. Dinner. Let them sip the wine of victory. I nodded, the plan crystallizing cold. Clever. If they craved a stage, we'd build one. But the curtain, ours to drop. The invitation was Grandma's masterpiece, typed on her ancient underwood, every keystroke surgical. Dinner tonight. Let's discuss the transition properly. Bait, wrapped in olive branch silk, sent via courier for that personal sting. I watched her seal the envelope, wax dripping red as warning. By 6 p.m., the table transformed. Oak polished to mirror sheen, candles poised like fuses, air heavy with roasted garlic's savory bite undercut by tension's metallic tang. Grandma emerged in her navy negotiation gown, simple, severe, armor of silk. Stay calm, she whispered, sliding a silver folder beside my plate, its weight a talisman. Let them unfurl first. The rope's theirs to hang from. 7 sharp. Headlights raked the gravel like claws, tires crunching finality. No knock, the door swung wide on entitlement's hinge. Mom first, heels stabbing the floorboards, a metronome of arrogance. Red dress, bold as a battle flag, clinging like second skin. Scott trailed, tie askew, grin wolfish. Mother, Mom air-kissed Grandma's cheek, perfume clouding the air. Sophia, darling, so glad we're doing this properly. Scott's addendum. Family decisions demand transparency after all. I bit back, a laugh hysteria bubbling. Transparency? From thieves? Dinner commenced in brittle civility. Plates circulated lamb carved thin, wine-glugged ruby into crystal. But impatience simmered. Mom's fingers drummed a staccato on linen, Scott's gaze flicking to the silver folder like a moth to flame. Finally, she cracked fork clattering like a gauntlet. Let's be honest, shall we? Enterprise, this vast, complex, daunting, unreasonable to saddle a 2 1-year-old with its solo. Grandma sipped wine, glacial silence. Scott pounced. We've mapped it out. I optimize finances, cut the fat, boost ROI. Brenda handles PR, the face of the brand. Sophia, shadow us. Learn the ropes, ease in. Not suggestions, invasions. My fork hovered, meat congealing. So, I hand over ownership, and you manage? Scott's grin stretched, plastic. Grandma's eyes lifted unfathomable pools. And Sophia's gain in this equation? Mom's smile bloomed, predatory. The family, mother. Everyone wins. Family filth on her tongue, twisted into weapon. I drew breath, slow, lungs burning. You're right, I said, soft as snowfall. We are family. Satisfaction lit her face. She leaned back, queen on throne. Good, then let's... Which is why? I sliced in, voice steady as rebar. It's time to drop the act. This isn't love. It's larceny. Her mask splintered, eyes widening, fork frozen mid-air. I shoved the folder center table, papers whispering doom. Transparency? You want it? Start here. Scott lunged, greedy fingers outstretched, but Grandma intercepted, swift as shadow. Folder splayed open, pages sighing like ghosts. Scritch paper on wood, crisp as a guillotine. These, she intoned, finger tracing ledgers like a judge's gavel, bank statements, Burlington account, withdrawals, Brenda's signature elegant loops, vanishing funds, never replenished. Mom's complexion bled to ash, wine glass trembling in grip. Mother absurd. Absurd? Grandma steamrolled, even as Everest. These emails, Miller Consulting, fabricated expansions, Dubai high-rises, Tokyo spas, phantoms, signed by both of you. Scott's jaw locked, teeth grinding audible. You had no right to pry. Every right, she snapped, voice forged steel. When you schemed to mortgage core properties under shells our hotels pawned for your fantasies. Thought age blinded me? Air thickened to tar, hearth fire, crackling defiant, the lone brave voice. Mom's gaze whipped to me, desperation raw. Sophia, lies, she's warping it. You can't buy this. But I held silent, heart thundering, the folder's revelations burning brighter than any plea. Grandma slid the finale. Ownership amendment, ink fresh as blood. Effective now. Full transfer to Sophia Bennett. You, excised. Boards, trusts, gone. Mom gaped, page crumpling in white-knuckled fists, as if willing flames. You can't, she breathed, horror dawning. Already have, Grandma replied, inexorable. Silence imploded into chaos. Mom erupted, chair screeching back, voice fracturing. This is my legacy, my blood, my sweat. You can't fling it to her like scraps. Grandma sat unmoved, oak-rooted. You flung it away, Brenda. For mirrors and applause, Scott clutched her arm, hiss urgent. Brenda, go, we'll lawyer up. But fury chained her. No! Finger jabbing me like accusation. You think victory's yours? Child in heels, you'll choke on clauses before dawn. I met her blaze, unflinching spine, steel spun. Maybe, but it'll be my choke. Her lip quivered rage, warring humiliation, mascara threatening tears. Then the echo, pack your bags. Leave this house! Same venom from days prior, but diminished, a kitten's roar. And Grandma laughed. Not thunder, a murmur, soft and surgical, carving cleaner than screams. Spot on, Brenda. Departure's due tonight. But not Sophia's. Time halted, fire stilled, breaths suspended. From her purse, another envelope. Cream sealed doom. Thud on table. Court order. Served. Fraud. Embezzlement. Conspiracy. Scott blanched ghost pale. The police? Justice, Grandma corrected, serene. Mom reeled, denial crumbling. You wouldn't. I'm your daughter. Were. Grandma whispered, sorrow tinged, till you auctioned our name for vanity's throne. Door creaked, 2 officers, shadows in uniform, polite as pallbearers. Scott surrendered, sand struggle, gaze floor-bound, cuffs clicking final. Mom trailed. Breaths ragged, hacks, eyes feral disbelief, devouring despair. Mascara rivers down porcelain cheeks, door sealed, silence returned, not haunting, but holy. Light, cleansing, like rain-scoured air. I collapsed into chair, chest vice tight, hands quaking, adrenaline's aftershock. Grandma's palm covered mine calloused wisdom over youth's tremor. Sorry you witnessed that storm. No! I rasped, throat raw. I needed the thunder. She nodded, eyes misting but mighty. You stood taller than I ever did, child. Gaze drifted. Empty plates, napkins origami folded, debris of Armageddon. Will she forgive? I murmured, ache blooming. Grandma's sigh, world-weary. Forgiveness demands confession. Your mother, she tallies herself the victim. Fire-popped sparks, gold-flecked, warming chill bones. Revelation bloomed. This house Dad's exit scar fights echo chamber now hushed. Safe. Sanctuary. I rose, drawn to window frost, laced panes framing night. Outside, cruiser lights pulsed crimson cobalt, painting gravel hellish. Scott slumped back seat, defeated silhouette. Mom, rooted porchward, statue in ruined shoulders heaving, face a mask of smeared defeat. Triumph? Absent? Relief? Fleeting? Just hollow throb for the kin we might have forged, untainted. Grandma's reflection ghosted beside mine, 2 warriors etched glass. You shone, Sophia. Voice low, worth high. Words rooted deep, bedrock in soul. Last taillights faded hill down. Night side release. No cheers, no clinks. We sank into fire's amber hush. 2 survivors, blood shared across eras, patterns shattered at last. Dawn after, surreal hush. House, once shout shrine, now storm's serene wake. Sunbeams, slanted curtains, veiled, gilding the foldered din table's lone sentinel. Apocalypse ender. Grandma kitchen bound, coffee steaming casual shoulders unbowed, face youth kissed, burdens shed like autumn husk. Ripples raced. Scott vanished, state fled pre-probe sealed, ghost in wind. Brenda lingered, masochistic witnessing empire's scorn, circles she'd reigned now hissing fraud. Case clawed all, coin, clout, crown, stripped bare. Afternoon brought Dad Mark, unannounced, boots gravel soft, no orations, queries. Just shoulder squeeze for Grandma, right call. Eyes mine ward. Pride, pure, no pity's sting. Proud of you, kid. Chest swelled validation's quiet roar. Weeks wove normalcies, weave. Finals crushed architecture thesis, lauded pinnacle. Graduation, cap toss amid cheers, diploma crisp as conquest. Grandma decreed, fete. Hotel rooftop, city sprawl, jewel box below. No flash, no throng, just us, stars pricking velvet sky. Glass raised champagne, fizzing effervescence. 2 fresh footings, lights twinkled distant, truth dawned. Rebirth, not bricks or bylines but balm. Peace, profound. No more leftover legacy. I was Genesis, my saga's spark. Legacy, not veins or surnames. Boundaries, severing venom, kin-clad or nay. Inheritance, no edifice. Liberation. Music swells, triumphant strings, fading to reflective piano. But let's linger here, because this isn't just a takedown, it's a mirror. Ever carved piece from pride's corpse? Chose spine over sentiment? That ache the one when blood betrays is universal. Yet so's the rush, karma's click, justice's exhale. Sharon taught me, true power, not hoarding. Guarding what's yours. And Sophia? She learned to wield it without shattering her soul. If this saga stirred your fire, the burn of betrayal, the blaze of payback, tell me, what's your story? That time family crossed the line, and you drew it back in blood? Or the revenge you wish you'd unleashed? Drop it below, we're all in this echo chamber together. You're not solo in the storm. Outro music rises upbeat, empowering beat. Whew, that was intense, right? If Grandma's masterstroke and Sophia's steel gave you that vindication high, smash like, subscribe for weekly dives into revenge realness, and hit notifications you won't miss the next gut punch. Share this with that friend nursing a grudge. Healing's in the telling. Next up in the box, a wife uncovers her husband's double life and flips the script in ways that'll have you gasping. See you there. Stay fierce, stay free. Peace.